It's the Dep Lewis Show. The Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. The Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. The Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. Welcome to the Dep Lewis Show, episode 155. This is your host, Dep Lewis, and today is Sunday, November 16th, 2025. A great day for a podcast about video games and more. And that's exactly what I'm here to do. So I hope you're doing great out there in the world, wherever and whenever you're listening to this. Thank you so much for being here. The first order of business is to ask you to follow Dep Lewis Show everywhere. Full episodes of Dep Lewis Show available anywhere you can find a podcast. Find the best place to subscribe and listen weekly. Places like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube, Amazon Music, and more. And YouTube is also a great place to watch me play some games live or check out the videos later. I've been slackening a little bit on the live streaming, but there are some VODs on there you can go check out if you want to see some gameplay. But if you would like to support the show even further than just listening, patreon.com/Dep Lewis Show is available if you'd like to subscribe monthly. That's the best place to guarantee the ad-free podcast each week. Also, Venmo at Dep Lewis Show is available any day, anytime for any amount if you would like to support the show. And today's show, we'll have 3 sections as always. The first section, I'll tell you about what video games I've been playing since I've last talked to you on this microphone. It's been a little bit of a light week for me, but I have some updates for you as always. In the mid-section of the show, which is not mid in quality, it's just the middle of the show, that's where I tell you everything going on around the video game world that you need to know. And there's definitely a surprise announcement last week that got me really excited, and I'm excited to talk about, and that's what is going to lead off the mid-section of the show this week. And the third and final section is a break from all the video game talk, the Miscellaneous talk section where I can talk about anything I want to outside the video game world. In that section, I normally like to get into the worldwide world of sports and tell you what's going on with all my favorite teams, and that would be the case today. This is a NFL Sunday for the Carolina Panthers. My favorite team, they're playing the Atlanta Falcons in Atlanta in about, 3 hours, a little bit under 3 hours if you're listening in real time. I'm pretty sure it's a 1 p.m. game. I think next week they have a later start, but we'll talk about some sports stuff at the end, let you know what's going on with all my sports fandom. But the main thing is the main thing, and that's the video games. So let's get into what I've been playing since I've last talked to you. So, recently there's been announced that there's a game, and it's going to be getting a free update in January. It's also going to be getting a Switch 2 update in January, or a Switch 2 version. So you can either buy this game in January for the Switch 2, I believe it's $65, or if you already own the game digitally or physically, you can pay $5 to upgrade. But then there's also going to be free content for all added to this game on January 15th, and that is Animal Crossing New Horizons. So this is a game, like millions of other people I played in 2020. I did have some fandom with Animal Crossing starting on the 3DS. That's the first one I played a whole bunch of and really started liking the franchise. But playing this game, Animal Crossing New Horizons, I think it's one of my most played games ever. I think it's one of my favorite games ever. And I'm going back to it. So I'm going back to it with a completely new save. So that's what I've been doing. In the last couple weeks, I've been back playing this, I guess, since the announcement of the updates coming in January for the game. I don't have my original island. I lost my original island, maybe intentionally or not intentionally, between switching from my base Switch to my OLED. I believe that's when I lost my island. There are ways to save your island, but I just did not. It was either after I was done playing. I played this game for over 300 hours, got a 5-star island, did pretty much everything I wanted to do, got my island set up, and was feeling really, really, really good about it and kind of like putting a bow on it. So I ended up losing my island at some point, a little bit sad just because I'm not able to go back and visit it. But what I've been learning recently is it's pretty fun to start over, and I'm maybe trying to approach it a little bit of a different way. I don't remember everything that I did from 5 years ago in this game, so some of it is fun to be learning some of the quirks and things of this game once again. But I mean, I immediately am like back into it. I'm back into everything this game's doing, from the music to the characters to the simple mechanics that you have around the world. But some of them, it requires some thought. You have to make sure, like some of the hard mechanics in this game are like making sure you don't press the wrong dialogue option in the menu that takes you to the wrong spot. It's like things like that. Or if you're talking to Blathers and you say, hey, I do want to hear some more information about this insect that I just brought to you, he's going to tell you a lot of history about it. You can choose no, and it'll keep it moving along a little bit faster. But there are plenty of things in the world
like that to discover, and things that I'm out of routine with, since I haven't played this game consistently for a while. So I've been trying to pick this game up each day for just a little bit of time. I think I missed a few days in there, but I am back trying to pay Tom Nook. I've got the house in the game, so I'm officially indoors. I'm no longer in a tent. I have two villagers on my island, and I think they're okay. I'm not really in love with the starting villagers I got, but they're okay. They're not offensive, which is nice. And my island grows oranges. So that's like the native fruit to my island. So that's pretty cool. And I'm trying to think what else. I think I'm worrying a little bit less of the island design and like setting things up and buying things. I'm really just kind of trying to focus on getting my money up, trying to progress a few things, tidying up, and really, I guess, not really going too deep on like designing or being creative yet in this game. That's kind of been my start to it so far. So I've been trying to play it a little bit differently, but I'm enjoying doing the fishing. I'm enjoying chopping wood. I'm enjoying collecting things. I'm enjoying selling it. I'm enjoying the crafting, and I'm enjoying the music. And I'm just. It's nice going back to this game. And one thing I was noticing this morning while I was playing, that the island that I live on right now seems enormous, and that's a pretty cool thing, because back when I was playing my previous island, I've designed every inch of it, so I'm pretty familiar with it. There was nothing unexplored or untouched or whatever, or uncurated. And now I would say probably 70%, 80% of the entire island is uncurated. And maybe I'm going to leave it a little bit that way. Maybe I'm going to try to focus a little bit smaller in this game and move forward. But I've been having so much fun with this. It's been a very relaxing game to play. It's a great game to listen to a podcast or watch YouTube or do something along with it, and that's always really nice for me. But it's also a great game to play, like this morning, drinking coffee, listening to the music, and playing some relaxing Animal Crossing. It's a really wonderful video game, and it's definitely up there on my favorite games of all time, and that's something that I'm going to actually be ranking at the end of this year. So I've been back playing Animal Crossing New Horizons. There's new content coming to that game January 15th. That is going to be the Switch 2 edition, and they're also delivering some free content on that day as well. So great news for Animal Crossing fans like myself. All right, what else have I been playing in the last week? I've been playing some Ball Pit again. This game is definitely going to be getting some type of nod on my Game of the Year list, because it's been extremely fun. I'm still making some progress here. I'm trying to complete a run with each character as my goal right now. I think I have 4 or 5 characters unlocked, and I know I've completed 3 runs, but maybe 4. So I've been taking down the Skeleton King, working through some of these characters. I've been trying to build up my farm area so I can harvest more. And once you unlock more characters, you have more harvesters, so that loop is pretty fun. I've got a better setup going. A friend of the show, Volnus, has given me some tips there, so I've set up my farm a little more like his, but he has like a cool maze going on with his, so I could stand to organize mine a little bit better, but I'm moving in the right direction there. And I'm having some longer runs. I think I had a 46-minute one that I completed. I think I might have had an over an hour-long one, but I also do have some shorter runs mixed in there. But overall, I feel like I'm getting better at this game, and the characters and the upgrades, and it's just, this is, I don't know, I think I was going to say surprising, and it is surprising because it's a great game, but I think there really is one of these games each year. I should go back and make a list of this like in the Vampire Survivors of like not full price games, but Vampire Survivors, Blatro, Binding of Isaac, Dead Cells, Spelunky. I'm trying to think of other ones immediately off top. But games in that same vein, I guess even Stardew Valley, but I don't know, but just games like that there's one of these each year that's amazing and extremely fun to play, and it's addicting, and it's not a full price game. Sometimes it's created by a small team, and I don't know the facts about that on Ball Pit, but it's just such a fun game. It's such a great take on the Vampire Survivors formula. It's fun having the balls ricochet everywhere like you're playing Pong. There's like a Tetris effect to it where all the enemies are coming at you, horizontally or vertically coming at you down the screen. So I mean, it's just really, really fun. It got a Switch 2 update recently, so the visuals look a little better on the Switch 2, but it runs great on the Switch 1. It is on multi-platform, so this is one that I would easily recommend to anybody. No matter your video game taste, I think you could probably enjoy this, or there's a good shot that you would enjoy this game if you haven't played it. I believe it's $14.99. That's Ball Pit, and I've been having a whole lot of fun with it, and it's going to be somewhere in my Game of the Year Dep Lewis Show Award proceedings for sure. All right, the last thing I've been playing this week really has been Ghost of Yotei. I've been picking that up again, making some more progress. I've been slacking for a week or two, but I've been picking it up and kind of just doing the open world thing. So there are definitely plenty of side missions and things to go collect around the open world, and that's what I've been focusing on more so than the story. And I think actually now I'm pretty much at a point where I need to go do some story missions. I think I have 4 or 5 yellow markers, which are the story mission markers, and I think I even have another one going on. So I have plenty to do out there in the world, but I think it's more in the way right now. I've taken Atsu on some story missions and proceeding. But picking this game back up, it just reminds me of how much I love Atsu as a character. I've now decked out my PlayStation 5 themes and customizable areas with cool pictures I've taken of Atsu. I wish they had Atsu profile pics on PlayStation, but they don't have anything from Yotei. They don't have anything from even Tsushima, I don't believe. But I've been having fun with Atsu. She's one of my favorite new characters in video games, I would say. And I'm still having a whole lot of fun with this game. I was riding high on this when I first started playing it. I'm still riding high on it, but I know I have a long way to go to complete it. So that is something that I am considering for the end of the year, because we are getting close to the end of the year. And with the end of the year, that's going to bring on the Dep Lewis Show Awards 2025, the 4th annual Dep Lewis Show Awards. And so that's everything I've been playing: the Animal Crossing New Horizons, Ball Pit, and then Ghost of Yotei, and then just some kind of overall stuff like I was just getting into. The Dep Lewis Show Awards will be the final Sunday of the year, the 4th annual Dep Lewis Show Awards. It'll take place on Sunday, December 28th, 2025. I'm going to be naming my game of the year, my best game from a prior year. I'm going to start doing my top 10 games of all time and seeing how that changes year over year. And then I'm going to have some other categories in there as well. So I've been having fun all year, and especially more recently, figuring out what I'm going to do for the award show. And it's one of my favorite podcasts to do each year, and I hope it's something you're looking forward to. It just takes place on the normal Sunday release, but it's the final Sunday of the year, the biggest, baddest, most exciting, most important podcast I do each year, and I'm looking forward to doing it on December 28th, 2025. This has been the year of no direction on the Dep Lewis Show, so I haven't had like a theme or a goal or anything like that I've been trying to work towards or use as a guide or anything like that. I've done the year of survival horror, I've done the year of the RPG, and for next year I still don't know what I'm going to do, but I will surely announce it by the Dep Lewis Show Awards. And things I've been thinking about of year of playing favorites, year of the GameCube, year of Pokemon, year of the platformer, year of the backlog. I've even thought about doing the year of survival horror again. I've been thinking more and more about survival horror and how there's a lot of games in that genre I need to take on. I've been feeling maybe a little bit tougher, so I could see myself running back the year of survival horror again. And then I've also been thinking about year of the racer. I've been playing tons of great racers. We have Kirby Air Riders coming out in the upcoming week, which is something that I did not have in the midsection. But if you're listening right now, Kirby Air Riders coming out for Nintendo Switch 2 in 4 days, November 20th. There was a global playtest thing happening this weekend, but if you are looking to play the Kirby Air Riders, which I am, it's coming out in the upcoming week, and I'll be talking about it next week, I'm sure. So just a little extra note in there while I am doing this podcast right now. But next year, I'm not sure what the theme is going to be, but I'm definitely going to be thinking about it, and I'm looking forward to it. So that's everything that's going on with me in my video gaming world. I've been playing some great games. I will probably be playing a lot of these in the upcoming week. There's been some other things. I'm always poking and prodding at different games, or reinstalling, or popping in, or just trying out some games. So I'm always doing something. I was doing a little bit of Metroid Prime last week, doing a little bit of Persona 5. I'm trying to think what other stuff I was dabbling with. I think that might be really about it, but that's everything going on with me. And we talked about the Dep Lewis Show Awards, and that's everything for the first section of the show. So we are going to take a quick break. You're going to hear some lovely music from friend in real life and friend of the show, Volnus, who I already mentioned. And we're going to come back for the midsection where I tell you about everything going on around the video game world that you need to know. And the first item in that section, I'm extremely excited to tell you about. It's something I might consider wanting to purchase myself, and it was an announcement that took place last week that was a big surprise to me. So come back after this music and get ready for all the video game news of the week. Welcome back to the midsection of Dep Lewis Show, episode 155. This is where I tell you about everything going on around the video game world that you need to know. And the first thing I want to tell you about was a surprise to me. It took place last week on November 12th. The announcement took place on Valve's YouTube channel, and it was a Steam hardware announcement. So I would definitely recommend you go watch this video. It's around 6 minutes in length, and it introduces 3 new products. or I guess some of these are new versions of products, but 3 new products coming in early 2026. So this is very exciting. I think this has really, really sparked my interest as someone who has been wanting to get a Steam Deck for a long time but never has. Still would maybe get one in the future. And this is another thing that I'm going to be interested in, so I'm excited to tell you all about it. So they are announcing new Steam hardware from Valve, a Steam controller. The main thing that I'm interested in, and I think the biggest news and information here, is called the Steam Machine, and then a Steam Frame are coming in 2026. Just like Steam Deck, all 3 devices are optimized for Steam and designed for players to get even more out of their Steam library. So they're saying early 2026 for these releasing. So that is, it's November 16th today, less than 2 months away from 2026. So quite a surprise, I would say. And they say we may be new, but it's like we've known each other our whole lives. All Steam hardware works great together, whether you're streaming or playing games across devices, including Steam Deck. And because Valve remains committed to an open PC ecosystem, we also play well with others as in your other devices. So I want to tell you about the 3 new pieces of hardware they are announcing. And the first one is the Steam Machine. So this one is if you look at this thing, it looks like smaller than a GameCube, almost the same size or form factor as a GameCube. It looks like an Xbox Series X cut in half maybe, or like a third of one. It's just going to fit so neatly in your entertainment center. It's going to fit so neatly on your desk or shelf or wherever you may be keeping this. And the Steam Machine is going to put your games on the big screen. It's a powerful PC gaming made easy in a small and mighty package. Your Steam library in more places with over 6 times the horsepower of Steam Deck. So that's what they're touting here, and I think that is definitely something that is driving some price speculation out there, and I think one clue into maybe what the price is going to be. But that is unknown at this time of how much this machine is going to cost. A Steam Machine has the power to play your whole Steam library, including your favorite AAA titles. Just sign in with your Steam account and your entire library is there. So that's something that playing on other devices, you're oftentimes trying to see compatibility or tweak settings. But the cool thing here is this is going to be one form factor, what's the term? One benchmark for all these games to be trying to be played at. And they're saying that you can play every game in Steam if you buy this thing. And I think that is a really nice thing out the box. There's going to be games down the road that'll eventually get released that this thing might not run so well, but it seems like this is going to be as current of a current machine that we can get at this time, and there should be a long life to it, especially in the world that we're going, where maybe we only get a few games, or there might be only a few games every once in a while that you're playing that are like pushing the limits completely, but a lot of people are playing more indies, more remasters and remakes these days. So this thing seems like it's going to be, I think, kind of bridging a pretty cool gap here with what it's trying to do. It has Steam OS, which a lot of people are a fan of from the Steam Deck. I think that's one of the bigger selling points from the Steam Deck fans is the Steam OS works so great. A lot of people, I feel like the Windows operating system on the other type on the Windows handheld gaming systems, like the new ROG Ally, Xbox Ally. They say kind of Windows bogs it down as a little bit of a nuisance and definitely not enhancing the enhancing the experience on the platform. So they're saying the Steam OS is definitely more console-like. It's kind of more simple, easy, get you in and out of your games like you want to do. It doesn't have any of the other like unnecessary frills or anything. So Steam OS, small form factor, cool and quiet, and ready for all the monitors and peripherals that you can throw at it. They're saying Steam Machine will be doing 4K gaming at 60 frames per second thanks to a discrete semi-custom AMD desktop class CPU and GPU. Available in 2 storage sizes, 512 gigabytes and 2 terabytes. Both come with expandable storage via micro SD, which I heard someone mention that you're not really going to want to be running games off micro SD. So I'm not sure, maybe that's more for the PC side of the house, and I don't know if that helps with any type of games, but just something that I noticed there and heard about. There's no giant brick. Steam Machine's power supply is built right in. And if you look at this machine, it's just like the sleekest, coolest looking, most simple thing that you can see. They're saying that there's going to be interchangeable faceplates on it. I've already seen one. I think it's D Brand is making one that looks like the companion cube from Portal. Like there is some really creative and cool looking stuff going on with this. And I think for a hardware announcement, this is S tier, A++. I think that's what was most impressive about this. everything but the price here. I think that's the biggest thing that we're all waiting on. But I think from everything besides that, this thing is seeming like it's going to be a monster, and like they're going to hit a home run with it, is what it sounds like to me. Steam Machine, optimized for gaming. It runs SteamOS. Steam Machine runs Valve's gaming-first operating system. SteamOS is designed to provide a plug-and-play user experience while keeping the power and flexibility of a PC. Experience SteamOS in the same way as other Steam hardware like Steam Deck and Steam Frame. In the store, they're going to be showing games that are Steam Machine verified, which I guess will be every single game, but there's games added every day to Steam. But we are expanding our verified program to include ratings for Steam Machine so customers can understand how their games will run. So I think a lot of people use the Steam Deck verified tag on the Steam store to see if games, that's like an impressive thing to see. If a game that has Steam Deck verified, you can feel pretty confident it's going to run smoothly on your Steam Deck. And they're going to have the same similar process for the Steam Machine here, which sounds extremely smart to me. And they also say it's a PC. Yes, Steam Machine is optimized for gaming, but it's still your PC. Install your own apps or even another operating system. Who are we to tell you how to use your computer? So just extremely cool. My idea on the price for this, I wish it would be around the same price as an Xbox Series X or a PlayStation 5 or the PlayStation 5 Pro, I guess, because it's seemingly going to be more powerful than those, or maybe comparable to a PS5 Pro. So if it was going to be that same price, I could see that. If it's going to be under $1,000, I think that will be I think that's the tipping point for this. I think over $1,000 puts it definitely into more of a niche kind of category. I think this is going to be more of I don't know. That's the thing. This thing should be in a niche category, but I could see this thing blowing up, and that's kind of that's my take on this. Is I think they are in a perfect position from this announcement to make the price a little bit lower to try to gain the foothold in the kind of console market or your entertainment device market, or just get you into their ecosystem more. And I think this could be a perfect opportunity, especially with how simple this device looks. Not that it's not like technologically advanced, but it looks, they make this seem so simple. It's just a simple looking device. It can run everything you want. It almost seems too good to be true. And that's the part with the price where they could really, I don't know, I'm not some genius businessman, but I think that could be a spot to take a loss. And I think oftentimes consoles don't generally have a huge margin that you're making on them. But this could be going for a shift in where people buy their digital games, which I think is very important. Because if you built a catalog of digital games on a platform, you will most likely be loyal to that. And also, having your stuff in one place would be nice. And I'm someone who hasn't really used Steam, but would maybe like to. We're seeing more Xbox games come to Steam. We're seeing more PlayStation games come to Steam. It's pretty much the best place to play everything besides Nintendo games if you're trying to get the biggest selection. So I think, for future-facing things, it would be nice to start building a Steam library instead of building one on the PlayStation side. I don't really even have an Xbox Series X at this point anymore, but I do have a good bit of digital games on the Xbox side of things. But having those focus in one spot could be nice, and I definitely think Steam is going to be a long-lasting platform. So that's something I've been thinking about for a long time, especially since the Steam Deck has been introduced. I've kind of wanted one of those ever since they've been announced. I haven't ever pulled the trigger or seriously thought about getting one, but it is something I would like to have, and this Steam Machine is definitely something I would like to have because I think it sounds cool. So Steam Machine coming sometime early next year. They've already done a Steam Machine back in the day. I think it was like maybe over a decade ago, maybe 15 years ago. Maybe just wasn't the right time. We were kind of in a more console-oriented phase of life. But, it seems like the way the world is going is that we're getting less exclusives. We're going to be having more and more options on places to play games and how to play them and where to play them and what controller to use and all things like that. And I think this Steam Machine could be I guess all these things are gradual over time, how they change, but this one could be something where we look back and see the Steam Machine and say, damn, this thing was a monster. It came in at the perfect time. They really have designed something really, really cool for gamers. And, we could see Steam Machine 2, Steam Machine 3. I think this thing could be a monster is my plan. And I'm excited to see what the price is going to be. And I will, depending on the price, if the price is going to be somewhere reasonable in the price of a current console, I'll probably be wanting to try to get one of these. If it's going to be extremely expensive, like a powerful gaming PC, or I guess, I don't know, I'm going to call them more high end, maybe more of like a mid-tier gaming PC, almost seem kind of unaffordable. Getting in the couple $1,000 range is definitely a big difference from buying a console. I've been a console gamer my whole life, but it's been it's been the case of, wanting to dabble in the PC side of things a little bit more as time goes on. And, I think this device is definitely intended for someone like myself to try to grab my attention. So I think the price is something they really need to nail here, and I hope they're going to surprise us. I think oftentimes these companies these days aren't really surprising us. I think they did a surprise thing here with the announcement, and I think they should surprise us with a semi-affordable or even an affordable price. How nice would that be? So, come on, Valve. I just think that would be the best way to shake up this console industry. This would be kind of a little bit of a new leaf here. So, let's see what they're going to do, and I'll definitely keep you up to date with all that information. But they announced some other hardware as well. They announced the new Steam controller, which they've had a previous Steam controller, and I think a lot of people did like that. I think it was almost like a love or hate kind of thing, but they are making a new Steam controller. Steam controller plays well wherever Steam is. Defining features of the Steam controller, they are saying it's plug and play with a Steam controller puck, which is an interesting thing if you watch their video. One puck that does two jobs. It's a wireless transmitter that provides a fast, stable connection for your Steam controller. It's also a charging station connecting to your controller magnetically with a satisfying click. Prefer using Bluetooth or USB? Steam controller supports those too. But they're saying this thing with this puck is it's actually going to get a quicker connection than through Bluetooth or USB even, I believe is what they're saying. So it really is like a cool little charging station. You really just kind of lay your controller on it. You pick the controller up. It uses the magnet where it's not too much resistance, but it actually works in place. It looked really, really cool. And I guess they are touting it gets you an even better connection, which is a cool thing. And I guess that's a little bit of an incentive to try to use their Steam controller. But you can still use your Bluetooth or USB controllers, and you can still even connect the Steam controller through Bluetooth or USB, I believe. I don't know about USB, but the thing I like about this is they have all the options. I think you can use any other Bluetooth controller on this thing. I think you can map any of the buttons you want to on any of these things. I just really love the idea of an all-in-one kind of machine, and that's what they're touting here, and that's the exciting part to me. For this Steam controller, they're saying next generation magnetic thumbsticks. Steam controller comes with magnetic thumbsticks using TMR technology designed for improved feel, responsiveness, and long-term reliability. They also support capacitive touch to enable motion control. So they're saying this is the advancement of hollow effect. I don't know why I'm blanking on that. Hopefully you know what I mean. A Hall effect, that's what it is. Hall effect joysticks. And this is a little bit of the advancement from that. So it uses even less power. I think it's even more longer lasting and even more accurate is what they're saying. So I mean everything good there is what it sounds like. The controller has high definition rumble. Steam controller's powerful motors are capable of handling complex waveforms for immersive accurate haptics. So if it ain't anything like the PlayStation 5 DualSense, if that's what we're just going to see as far as controllers going forward, I think that's going to be really impressive. And that's kind of my take on what the Steam controller is doing here from that description. But more about the controller, they got grip-enabled gyro. We're calling it GripSense, and it's a new input for Steam controller that enables gyro with capacitive touch. Hold and release to enable and disable gyro aiming. You can also map it like any other button. So that makes me think a little bit of the Switch 2 Pro controller and some of the gyro effects in there, using that for like Splatoon or Zelda, the Bow and Zelda, and a few other games as well. So the Steam controller, so we'll have the grip sense, but it'll also have all the inputs you'd expect. Control and comfort, trackpads. The trackpads are cool. There's two of those on this controller, left and right. Use the Steam controller to play even your favorite mouse and keyboard games with increased precision and customizability. It's another way to enjoy fast-paced first-person shooter games. Motion control, grip buttons, Steam button, and quick access menu. So I think the trackpads were cool. You could use the gyro and use the trackpad, and you can design a button in the back. Like I saw Dan Reichert getting a hands-on with Giant Bomb, and he was playing Balatro, and they were kind of showing him alternative control schemes to use with the trackpads and stuff, and some of it actually seemed like it might be something useful depending on the game that you're playing. So I think some of that stuff is really cool, and people could have their own unique way of playing like Balatro or technically any game, but some of these more simple games, I think you could get creative on the control scheme and kind of tailor it to exactly what you would like. But the new Steam controller is customizable for Steam input. Steam controller was designed with all the inputs for all your games. Paired with Steam input, it's the ultimate customizable controller. Thanks to its input parity with Steam Deck, Steam controller will be pre-populated with community configurations for thousands of games from day one, or you can make and share your own. So it definitely seems cool. I don't know if this controller is going to come with the Steam machine. Maybe I hope it would, but I would be inclined to use one of my PlayStation controllers most likely if I was going to be playing on the Steam machine. But I would love the ability to use whatever I would choose to, because I like having the options. And the last new piece of hardware, so that's everything about the Steam controller. And the last piece of hardware they announced that I want to tell you about is the Steam Frame. So this is the VR headset. And this is your games in every dimension, wireless, comfortable, lightweight VR for your Steam library. VR and non-VR gaming. Steam Frame is a streaming first wireless VR headset plus controllers that can handle your whole Steam library. Step into immersive VR or lean back and enjoy your favorite non-VR catalog, and it supports standalone play too. The Steam Frame headset is lightweight and compact with a weight balanced front to rear for a comfortable experience. It's also easy to just slip on and play with no wires and no setup. Steam Frame is a PC and runs SteamOS powered by Snapdragon 8 series processor with 16 gigabytes of RAM. Steam Frame supports standalone play on a growing number of both VR and non-VR games without needing to stream from your PC. So I've never been someone who's been into VR. I played maybe an Oculus at one point and thought it was cool, but it's just never been something that I have really even considered buying, and based on money and just based on maybe not really seeing the need for one in my video gaming life. But I think this is one of the cooler stabs at VR. I like how simple this seems. I like how they're pitching this, that you can play VR games and you can play non-VR games. I think that's kind of a smart thing they're doing in here, where they're not focusing completely on the VR games, where a lot of people say they're kind of more of a novelty. Maybe there's not as many of them. But if this is going to be like a headset you can put on and play your you can play your whole Steam library in here, which sounds cool. I just don't know how enjoyable it would be to be playing in there. But I don't know. I think this technology is going to be getting better over time. I definitely have been enjoying playing games more handheld as time goes on. The handheld experience is becoming more one-of-one with the console, and with the Switch it is one-of-one. But having the games in your headset, I don't know. I think the world is maybe going away from. That's what I'm kind of getting at with the handheld talk. I think the traditional sitting in front of a giant TV playing your games, I think maybe the number of people that do that is getting lower and lower. More people are playing games on their phone. More people are playing games on the Switch, on their handheld PC. And, maybe they'll be playing more on VR as the future goes on. And being able to have a TV, just right in your headset, I think is a cool thing for having the option. It's a nice option to be able to play your games in your own fashion and not be taking up, the whole entire room or the whole setting with your video game. So I think it's a cool thing. I think as the technology progresses, it could be something I get into. And I think the Steam Frame is the first time I've seen VR and been like, man, I would maybe want to have one of those. I don't think it would be an immediate thing I'd want to spend my money on, but it's something that definitely has my interest up, and that's the Steam Frame. So that's everything from Valve's new Steam hardware announcement. And I think this was an extremely cool thing. This was an exciting thing. This was something that when I saw the news breaking, it doesn't happen too many times a year for the video game news. I get excited about stuff every week, but there's just a few moments each year. I guess the Switch 2 launch was a really, really big one for me this year, of just being excited about it and following the news and it actually happening. But this one was just really cool. This is something I've been wanting a Steam Deck for a long time and just being interested in it, and maybe even getting a Steam Deck, getting a dock. But this I don't know. This is just maybe I am more of a console gamer. This could be something like this would be the device for me to get and then possibly get a Steam Deck down the road. And I think it's cool. I think they're doing a really smart thing here. I think they tested the waters perfectly with their Steam Deck. And they are not announcing, a lot of people thought they might have been announcing their Steam Deck 2, but it seems like they're announcing this more powerful machine. The Steam Deck is going to be the companion. It's going to be not as powerful, but it's going to be a nice companion. Especially if you do get a Steam machine, it'll be a perfect companion. And then at some point down the road, they'll probably do the Steam Deck 2. And at that point, maybe it'll be more in line with the power of the current Steam machine. So I think they're kind of doing that. I think they did that kind of in a brilliant way. And I know that, I'm sure that had to be intentional in some form or fashion, but I think was just kind of a great way to introduce the world to switching up their ecosystem that they use for their video game. And I think they did it for a lot of Steam Deck users, and I think this will be something a lot of Steam Deck users would probably want to get, and this will be something that will maybe be doing for the handheld market what Steam Deck did. This will be doing it for the console market. So I think this is pretty huge here and something I'm interested to follow along with, and I really would like to see the price. I think I'm going to be bummed if it's over 1,000. If it's right at 1,000, I maybe would expect that. But if it's getting in like to the $1,200, $1,400 range, that is very, very expensive. I mean, all this is very expensive, but I think that could be a deterrent from it getting like mass market appeal. I think, you know, people are even angry about the Switch. People are angry about the Switch 2 price, but that thing's been selling like crazy. But this is definitely more of a niche product. So I think with the niche product, then they need to take the hit a little bit on the front with the price. And that would just be my recommendation over here, just as just a guy who podcasts about video games each week. But that's everything from the Steam hardware announcement. Super cool. They announced the Steam machine, the Steam controller, and the Steam frame. All right, but a lot more news for you this week. So let's get into it. So I'm just staying with hardware, something that has been getting a lot of delays, and something I think is very cool, has finally got a shipping date confirmed, and that is actually November 18th. So that's the upcoming week. People are going to be getting their Analogue 3D from the company Analogue. This is basically like the modern N64. So it's a reimagining of the N64, 10 times the resolution of the original N64, the first and perhaps greatest multiplayer system of all time. Analogue 3D is 100% compatible with every original N64 game ever made. Region-free Bluetooth LE, dual-band Wi-Fi, 4 original-style controller ports, entirely new next-generation analog hardware, featuring 3D operating system engineered entirely in FPGA, no emulation. So this machine will cost $250 but it's currently out of stock. It's been out of stock since the pre-order for a long time, and it's been kind of an arduous point to get to this shipping point, but this looks really cool. This is basically, I think they're able to do this because some patent or trademark has finally expired on the N64, so they're finally able to produce a machine that's going to play all of your old cartridges, which I think is really cool as someone who's gotten back into buying older games in the last couple of years. So this will definitely be something once it's available on the store, and if all the reviews and everything sound okay, this will be something that I'd probably want to try to get at some point. And I'm excited to see people get their hands on it and watch some video and hear some podcast about it. So I'll be probably talking about this more in the future. Analogue 3D is shipping on November 18th. So that's actually in the upcoming week. All right, so some more hardware, and this one's pretty unusual, but PlayStation has announced a gaming monitor. So it's built for desktop gaming with the PlayStation 5. The upcoming monitor combines bold visuals and performance and includes a charging hook for the DualSense wireless controller. The 27-inch gaming monitor, which I think is a great size, with DualSense charging hook coming to the US and Japan. They say stay tuned for more information on launch date and availability in the coming months. I think this, they've been, I guess, getting a little bit more into their accessory game with their headphones, and they're creating those speakers as well too. So they're really trying to take over your whole desk there. They want to get your monitor, your speakers, and your console there, and I don't think that's a terrible idea. I think having something that runs extra nice with your console could be nice, especially if that's the way you primarily use it. There's no information on the price of this thing. There's no information on if it's going to be a good deal compared to other monitors. I'm sure there's going to be some type of premium here you're paying for a PlayStation product, but some of the functionality might kind of make up for it, or some of the seamlessness possibly. But I think it's an interesting thing. It's I don't know if a console's ever. I guess they've released consoles with screens attached, or like third-party screens you can put on them, but I don't know if one of these. I mean, I guess Sony has made monitors, but just a kind of an unusual announcement, but something that I think's pretty cool. And someone could be getting a full, Sony setup or whatever at Christmas at some point, and that could be pretty awesome. I'm sure it would all look and run really great. All right, so staying on the PlayStation side of things, they actually had a PlayStation State of Play Japan that took place last week. This took place on November 11th. This was last Tuesday, and they were bringing you a special episode of State of Play running more than 40 minutes, focusing on games created in Japan and across Asia, alongside a few other exciting updates. So this was not something that I watched. I watched a little bit, I guess, of the Marvel Token fighting game coming out. I believe that comes out next year, and I think that looks really cool. But I did not see any other information. I didn't look too deep, but I didn't really hear any other information through the periphery that I wanted to report to you about this. But especially, I guess, if you live in Japan or are interested in a lot of these Japanese games that they have being developed, please go check this out. And it's on there on the YouTube right now. So PlayStation State of Play Japan took place last week, and just wanted to report that out there for you to know. All right, so moving over to Nintendo, they announced their next movie kind of recently, and that's the Super Mario Galaxy movie. And now we have an official, well, I don't know if it's official, but I guess maybe it is. They say this is coming to theaters April 2026. So, less than 6 months away. And there's no official date in there, but I think the April timeframe is the new information here. So the Super Mario Galaxy movie, The Galaxy Awaits, they showed official trailer. It's around 2 minutes in length for the Super Mario Galaxy movie. I never saw the other Mario movie that came out, but I think it looks pretty cool. It's something that I would like to watch at some point, and I do love Mario Galaxy as a video game. It's one of my favorite video games of all time, so I think this one could get me a little more interested at some point, and it looks like this one will be in theaters in April of 2026. Nintendo Switch had a system update last week, 21.0.0 update. It released on November 10th. The main thing from this update that you'll notice, it added symbols above software icons displayed on the home menu to indicate whether the software is a physical or a digital edition. So I think that's a nice touch. It is something you'll notice on your home screen. And I think it's nice for, sometimes you might forget which cartridge you have in your console, and you might go to boot up another game, and it'll say, or boot that game up and it'll say, hey, you don't have that cartridge in there. So this kind of eliminates any of that. And I guess it does a good job of showing you which game is loaded on your system. So if you have two devices, like a Switch 1 and a Switch 2, you have your profile on both. You can have the games downloaded on both, but you can only play them on one. So the system that you're playing on will load the virtual card, and that's what you can do. But if you went and booted it up on your other console, you just have to wait there for a second for it to connect to the internet, load the virtual card, which takes 4 seconds, and then you can be playing it on both of them. So that's something, I've messed around with that some from my Switch 1 to Switch 2. But I'm pretty much primarily trying to play on my Switch 2 from going forward, just for simplicity's sake. That's kind of something I've been doing in the last few weeks as well. But I've been going back and forth. I'm playing my Switch 1 still too. I still think the Switch 1 is an amazing console. So they've added those symbols, and with the Switch update, the Switch 1 and 2 update, and general system stability improvements to enhance the user's experience. Alright, so Pokemon Pokopia is a game that was announced not too long ago. And the news here is this game is going to be released on March 5th, 2026. The Cozy Life Sim is going to be exclusive to Nintendo Switch 2, and that's going to be coming out in March. Pokemon Pokopia. The grass and the trees have withered away in a world where humans and Pokemon once lived. It's now up to a resourceful Ditto to restore this desolate landscape and make a utopia for Pokemon to live in and be happy. $69.99 US for this game. And the surprising thing here, this Pokemon game is going to be a game key card. So what the hell's going on with that? I guess, it's a Pokemon spin-off a little bit, but you'd think a Pokemon game would be on the card. Maybe it's a limitation. I mean, obviously it's a limitation thing, but you think they would have gotten this done? We've been seeing that the game key cards have not been selling well, and this could be, hey, we're not going to do this to the actual mainline Pokemon game, but maybe next time they're going to be trying to do this to the mainline Pokemon game, and I don't think that's cool. I'm not interested in buying any game key cards. I did when the console launched, but I traded them in because there were games I wasn't really going to play. Anywho, and I think it's a little bit of a silly thing. I think maybe unless you just love having things on the shelf, which I really don't. I like collecting some physical games, but it's not like I have a giant display of them. And I mean, that would be the only reason besides, just downloading the game digitally to get a game key card. And you have it to trade in, which I think that's nice too, but just something doesn't feel right about buying a game key card when you can just buy it digitally. I guess the trade-in argument's there, which I do trade in games from time to time, but that's really kind of the only argument. And I just think it's kind of like a halfway measure on like a feel-good purchase. And there's something that doesn't feel great about it to me. But Pokemon Pokopia are going to be a game key card, and that game is coming out March 5th, 2026. All right, now we got a couple updates for Switch games. I'm going to report to you. Pikmin 4 has a free update. It released on November 11th, version 1.1.0, and you can now choose from three different activity levels for creatures: relax, normal, and fierce. You can now take pictures with the field camera item and decorate them with stamps and frames, and decor Pikmin will now appear in the story and more. So they announced this update maybe like a month or so ago, and now we're finally getting that, and it's been released for Pikmin 4, so even greater ways to play Pikmin 4. There's still no official Switch 2 version for this game, but this is an update for, every version, or for the Switch 1 version that will give you some updates, or you get the same updates on Switch 2 is what I'm saying. Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition has also gotten an update on that same day, November 11th, and the update here is it's not a Switch 2 edition, but it's now more compatible with Nintendo Switch 2. So the game behavior is now more consistent with Nintendo Switch. So this must have been one that was, running a little bit, even I guess running poorly or running worse on the Nintendo Switch 2, which has kind of been the case with some of these games. If it's a Switch 1 game that hasn't been optimized for Switch 2 in some form or fashion, it might not necessarily just look automatically better. And that's, I guess, what they're cleaning up here with some of these updates. And I think that's a great thing. Even if it's not getting an official Switch 2 edition, if it's getting maybe a little bit of an update to help it be more consistent with the Switch 1 version, which you would expect. You would expect it not to be any worse. I mean, that would be the expectation. And I think it's nice that seems like they're working to get a bunch of the games, get this done for a bunch of the games. But I still think it lends some credence to, Switch 1 being still useful. And I think that's the case with games these days. And I think that's something that's been hard to understand for Nintendo, because it always seems like maybe Nintendo's a little bit different, but it does seem like they're kind of following the same trajectory as the other platforms, where there might not be a reason to upgrade to the new console immediately or for many years, or possibly ever. I guess we're starting to see some more Switch 2 games, which that is really the reason that'll get people to want to buy a new console, will be for the exclusive games that you're able to play on that console. But, we just keep seeing more and more, and I guess you're going to see a lot of those during the launch window too. So I guess overall, I'd say they're doing a pretty good effort at switching over to the Switch 2. They recently said that they're focusing all their development on the Switch 2 going forward. So I think some of that stuff is important. And I think a lot of people, including myself, haven't really loved the kind of weird blend between the console releases. I do. And the other side of the argument, which I do understand, is having the options for more people is nice. But I think sometimes it maybe hinders the progress of, moving to the new console. But, these are all just kind of small worries. I'm sitting here talking about a million great video games, and I am thankful for that. All right, Sonic Racing CrossWorlds is a great video game, and they have announced a SpongeBob SquarePants DLC pack will launch in November. SpongeBob SquarePants and Patrick Star as playable characters, the Paddy Wagon vehicle, Bikini Bottom theme course, a new SpongeBob SquarePants inspired music tracks, and 6 different emotes per character. So very cool. I actually booted up Sonic Racing this morning. I haven't played in a couple weeks. And I got Joker as a character, and I got Ichiban from Yakuza. So 2 new characters I'm able to play as. I didn't have to purchase these characters. I guess they came with the base game, or maybe they came with like the launch version and you just got them at a later time. I'm not really sure, but I'm excited. I'm got a little bit back into Persona 5 this last week, so playing as Joker could be something I'd like to do. And I don't know, I need to play more of this game. I was really, really heavy on this, but there's just been a ton of great games to play, and this is one I was having a lot of fun with. I really don't have any complaints for Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, and maybe I just need to re-up my PlayStation Network so I can play online. I think that's maybe one of the deciding factors there of why I haven't been jumping into it as much. And just a simple, I need to do it because I was having a lot of fun with it, and I think it's worth it to be subscribing so I can play some Sonic Racing CrossWorlds online. So they have a lot of DLC and stuff coming to this game. I'm sure they're going to be updating as time goes on, but they have new playable characters coming in December from Knights. I think that's the video game. I'm not too familiar with it. January, they're having Super Monkey Ball characters added. In February, Tangle and Whisper from Sonic. So you can't go wrong with any of the Sonic editions, and this is seeming like it's trying to be like Smash Brothers and Kart mixed together with all characters from all different galaxies and universes. So I think that's pretty cool because the base game in this is extremely fun. And Sonic Racing CrossWorlds is actually coming to Switch 2 on December 4th. It's going to be a 16 gigabyte downloader game, and it's going to be a game key card, which is another disappointing thing. So a game that I would maybe buy digitally if I was going to buy it on the Switch 2. I don't know if the Switch, I think the Switch 2 is I don't think it's solving the third-party dilemma. I think it's doing a better job at it. I think Persona 3 Reload is a good example. That game runs pretty well. It's not perfect. It's not exactly similar, but I think is a step in the right direction. I think some of the stuff has been hit or miss, and I think Sonic Racing CrossWorlds was having some trouble running on the Switch 1, so it'll be nice to see how it's looking on the Switch 2, and I'll be interested to see what people think about that. So Switch 2 version of Sonic Racing CrossWorlds showing up on December 4th. All right, what else do I got for you for the midsection? A couple more things to talk about. This next one's a quick hitter. This is just a reminder that a game released last week, and it's Call of Duty Black Ops 7. Just a reminder that it's out, released November 14th for Xbox, PlayStation, Steam, and Battle.net. $69.99 US. Treyarch and Raven teamed up and are bringing the biggest Black Ops ever. They're touting across an innovative co-op campaign, an electrifying multiplayer experience, and the legendary round-based zombies mode, published by Activision. I don't know if I've seen anything over the moon about this, or anybody over the moon about this game. I don't really think I've heard anything too negative about this game either, so I think it seems like a quality Call of Duty release. I don't think it's, I don't know. I don't think it's really, changing up the game, but I'm sure it's going to be selling well. And I think it just seems like a good entry is all I really can take. I like to watch Jeff Gerstmann play Call of Duty because he always tries them out. I think he's a good person to go to. He's put a lot of time in. He's, been with them for a long time. He's tried many of them out. He's prestiged many times. And I was watching him play this. It seemed pretty cool. He was having a fun time with it. And I don't know if Call of Duty is going to be recaptured by a lot of people as like their favorite game anymore, but I don't know. I guess some people are like lifelong Call of Duty fans. Some people like myself have played it a lot over the years and maybe have just had a little bit of fatigue with it, or maybe just not into it as much, or maybe not into the online portion, or maybe the lack of campaign. But this seems like a good entry. Battlefield 6 just came out. Seems like a pretty good entry, and I guess it's a pretty good year for these military shooters going on. Haven't really heard too much bad about Call of Duty Black Ops 7, besides some of the anticipation stuff of people being maybe a little bit fatigued, but seems like a good release, and it's available now. So I just wanted to mention that. All right, something else that got announced last week was a little bit confusing to me, but Red Dead Redemption. They said Red Dead Redemption and The Undead Nightmare are coming to Netflix, iOS, Android, PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and Nintendo Switch 2 on December 2nd. And that had me thinking, I'm like, hey, isn't Red Dead Redemption already available on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S, and Nintendo Switch? And the answer is yes. But this is going to be a touched-up version, and it's also going to be on Netflix and iOS and Android is the real big other news here. So this is basically a more updated version of Red Dead Redemption that's going to be sold everywhere. The free upgrades. So it's coming with free upgrades, the ability to carry over game progress, and a number of enhancements. So players on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S can look forward to a smooth 60 frames per second experience, enhanced image quality, HDR support, and resolutions up to 4K. On Nintendo Switch, we've taken full advantage of this new hardware with support for DLSS, HDR, mouse controls, and the same fluid 60 frames per second gameplay at high resolution. So current owners on PS4, Nintendo Switch, or the digital backwards compatible version on Xbox One will also be able to upgrade digitally for free. Anyone who owns the PS4 version can utilize previous PS4 save data to pick up where they left off, and Switch 2 players can continue with their previous save data from the previous Nintendo Switch console. So this is pretty cool overall. I love Red Dead Redemption 2 as a video game. It's one of my favorites of all time. I never completed Red Dead Redemption, and I think the cool part about this is if you played Red Dead Redemption 2 and haven't played Red Dead 1, Red Dead 1 steps into the events immediately following the blockbuster Red Dead Redemption 2 in the critically acclaimed tale of John Marston's journey to bury his bloodstained past. So I don't know if I ever really put that together, or haven't put it together in a long time since I played this game, but I think that is a really cool thing. I'm pretty sure this game still holds up. I think it's nice getting some love and a little bit of extra, new gen touches to it. And it's also coming to mobile, which is pretty wild. So I think people with like a backbone or who like playing games on their phone, I think that's pretty exciting. And I think we're going to be seeing more and more of this done to video games from the past. I think, we're seeing, I think maybe with some of these, I don't know, I'm about to say like there's less video games and they're taking longer and costing more money. And there is a subsection of video games like that. But I think this is nice. I think them going back to some old games that are beloved, putting them on more platforms, putting some nice touches to them is a nice thing. It's nice for people who like the game. It's nice for people who wanted to try it. And I think it's just kind of a cool thing overall. So Red Dead Redemption getting some improvements made to it, and also getting a mobile release is pretty interesting. All right, just a couple more things to tell you about really quick. Once Upon a Katamari is a new Katamari game that released recently, the first one in a long time. That's a new release in the franchise, and there are 2 new DLC packs planned for release in November. So not too much of November left, but there's some more to come. The Katamari Damacy Series Dance Dance remixes and Katamari Damacy Series Neo remixes are on the way. 5 new remix tracks and 10 accessories are included in each DLC. A special set of accessories are also planned to all players who own the game. So I've always kind of wanted to get into a Katamari game and may possibly do so at some point. I've been kind of hearing this one might not be as good as the last release, which was kind of a remake of a game, but I haven't really heard too much negative about this game. I just don't know if it's maybe like the best in the franchise, but it seems like the Katamari franchise seems pretty quality overall from my outside view looking in. All right, the last thing I want to tell you about is Octopath Traveler 0, and the news here is there's a demo available for this game now. This is going to release on December 4th for PlayStation 5 and 4, Xbox Series X and S, Nintendo Switch 2 and 1, Microsoft Windows, and Steam. All the definitive elements of the Octopath Traveler series return in this exciting prequel set in the realm of Orstera. Embark on a brand new adventure of your own creation in the stunning HD 2D RPG Octopath Traveler 0. A brand new feature to the series include a character creation system where you can get to become the hero and town building mechanics as you seek to restore your devastated home. So I think Octopath has a beautiful art style to it. I've only played a little bit of the games. Maybe I think I've tried the demo of 1 and 2. Something I can want to get into the future. I really do like the HD 2D style of art that these games are doing recently, kind of like the Dragon Age 1, Live Alive. I guess there's probably a few Sea of Stars is kind of like that as well. I really do think it's a cool looking art style. I've been getting a little bit more into RPGs as time goes on, and Octopath is definitely a franchise that I can see myself playing at some point. And you can play the Octopath Traveler 0 demo right now if you'd like to. Alright, that's everything I got for you for the midsection for all the video game news of the world. We talked about a lot of things. We talked about the Steam hardware announcement, including the Steam Machine, the Steam Controller, and Steam Frame. We talked about Analogue 3D. We talked about the PlayStation Gaming Monitor, PlayStation State of Play Japan, the Super Mario Galaxy movie, the Nintendo Switch System Update, Pokemon Pokopia, Pikmin 4, Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, Call of Duty Black Ops 7, Red Dead Redemption, Once Upon a Katamari, and Octopath Traveler 0. So that is all the video game news and information I have for you this week. And that is going to wrap up the midsection. But there is one final section of the show, the Miscellaneous Talk section. That's where I can talk about anything I want to outside the video game world. And as always, I want to get into the worldwide world of sports and tell you what's going on with all my favorite teams. I like to say, even if you're not a sports fan, it's a short and sweet section. It's kind of more about just living through my fandom of my favorite teams. And oftentimes, if you're a fan of a sports team, you're most likely going through some downs because there can only be one winner each year. And then if you're a fan of my sports teams, you'll go through some more downs than normal just based on those teams. But, I enjoy being a fan. It's fun. And there is a Panthers game going on today that I want to talk about. So please come back for the final section of Dep Lewis Show, episode 155 after this. And I will be right back. Welcome back to the final section of Dep Lewis Show, episode 155. This is Miscellaneous Talk section where I can talk about anything I want to outside the video game world. So I want to get into the worldwide world of sports as always and tell you what's going on with all my favorite teams. The Carolina Panthers, my favorite NFL team. Well, let's talk about last week first. They had a devastating loss to the New Orleans Saints, who I believe were 1-8 before that game and are now 2-8. So the Panthers lost 7-17 against the Saints last week at home in Charlotte, putting up no offense. And it was pretty terrible and a dud. I think last week I said I don't expect them to come out and play a dud. I thought it would maybe be a close game or the Panthers would actually win handedly, and it was a dud. So they are not dud proof, and hopefully they're not going to be having more duds as the season goes on because it was pretty disappointing. Bryce was 17 of 25, 124 yards, 1 pick, and 2 sacks for 22 yards, so nothing impressive there. Rico had 18 carries for 53 yards and a touchdown. And I think the Panthers have fumbled all the Rico hype and the carries and everything. I think they mismanaged that so poorly since it's happened. They had Rico start playing well, and they lost their minds. T-Mac had 5 catches for 60 yards. Derek Brown had 9 total tackles, 3 solo. And Trayvon Moehrig had 7 total tackles and 6 solo. So Derek Brown and Moehrig have been playing exceptional. Ryan Fitzgerald was 0 for 1 field goal wise and 1 for 1 extra point wise, so he's been struggling the last couple of weeks, and that's been disappointing. That's definitely not been helping the cause. And the Panthers are now 5-5 after this game record wise. The Panthers are playing the Falcons today at 1 p.m. I believe that's the case. I think it's at 1 p.m. So a couple hours away from real time when I'm recording this. I'm excited to watch it. I think that one should be a competitive game. I am not going to say I think the Panthers should win handedly, but I think it should be a competitive game, and I certainly think the Panthers need to win, or they could really start going back on in the wrong direction. So the Panthers are playing the Falcons today. The next week will be, the Panthers are playing on Monday Night Football next week, which is pretty wild. I was kind of surprised to see that. So next week at San Francisco on Monday Night Football, 8:15 p.m. And the only good football news really is my fantasy team is 10-0. So I've been running the table there. That's been pretty crazy. I don't know if I've ever done that before. I have definitely clinched the playoffs. I've beat every team in the league once, and I'm trying to do it again. That's the plan here. So who knows if my winning ways will continue, but I have been thankful for my fantasy squad for going out there and balling for Deputies Dogs. That's the name of my team. So Deputies Dogs, shout out to you. All right. So switching over to the NBA, my favorite NBA teams. I'm a halfway fan of Charlotte Hornets since I'm a North Carolina resident for the last couple of years. And since last week, Monday versus the Lakers, the Hornets lost 111 to 121. Wednesday versus the Bucks, the Hornets won 111 to 100. Friday at the Bucks, Hornets lost 134 to 147 in overtime. Saturday, last night versus OKC at home. In Charlotte, the Hornets lost 96 to 109 against the defending champs. And next week, the Hornets will play Toronto, Pacers, Clippers, and Atlanta. And Atlanta is my favorite NBA team. I'm a Hawks fan through and through. And since last week, the Hawks won Monday night against the Clippers 105 to 102. Wednesday at Sacramento, the Hawks won 133 to 100. Thursday at Utah, the Hawks won 132 to 122. So the Hawks have been on a little bit of a run here for sure. Jalen Johnson had a phenomenal night the other night. One of the craziest stat lines in NBA history is what they were touting. So him and Ricochet have been really, really balling out. And I think, at least not for this season, I think the Hawks have at least a chance of having a good roster for many years to come, especially with those guys. That's nice. I think the Hornets are looking like they're going to continue their losing ways. I don't know. They've been sitting LaMelo in crunch time. I think Bridges has been kind of leading the scoring in most ways over there. So I think some of that stuff is troublesome. I've lived in North Carolina, I guess, almost 3 years now. And both, or I guess, I don't know if I've seen 3 or 2 seasons. I've maybe seen like 2.5. And they've all been marred by LaMelo injuries. He goes out at some point in the year. They have no hope for the playoffs. And, they've been doing that consistently for a few years now. So I would have to imagine this has to be an end of that some way or another. But we will see. And then the Hawks, they have the big Trae Young thing looming over their head. But, with having these young guys playing good, I think that's only really going to be positive. And I think is the backup, at least, that Trae would need. If you want to have Trae on the team, I think it's nice to have some other players, maybe him not be the complete number one option of doing everything. And I think that's what they've kind of done here with some of these new young guys. But I guess it's a see if they can all work together kind of thing. And I think they need to be on the court together to see if they can. And I think it's nice to see the Hawks getting some wins. I was down on them kind of early, but now I'm a little bit more up on them. And maybe it is more of just kind of a fit, getting the guys in there working together. And they got some young guys figuring it out, and maybe they will figure it out. So that's my hope. So the Hawks actually play tonight at Phoenix at 8 p.m. So a late Sunday game for the Hawks. And then next week they'll be playing Detroit, San Antonio, New Orleans, and Charlotte. And I believe the game for the Hornets and Hawks next week is in Atlanta. I believe they come to Charlotte on December 18th, I believe is the day. So I'll be trying to go to that game for sure to go see the Hawks and Hornets play. For baseball, it's the offseason. My favorite team is the Atlanta Braves. The 2026 season begins for the Braves Thursday, March 26, 2026 versus the Royals, but who's waiting on that. 2 pretty good announcements for the offseason for the Braves. Drake Baldwin, he won the National League Rookie of the Year, so the phenomenal 24-year-old catcher. He hit .274, 19 homers, .341 on-base percentage, 80 ribbies, and is just an outstanding catcher as well. He appeared in 124 games last season, so very durable. And one of the bright spots of the whole entire season, or maybe the bright spot, was Drake Baldwin. So shout out to him. He kind of took Sean Murphy's job. I think Sean Murphy could possibly get traded because I think his salary is really, really high. But having 2 catchers is always nice. The Braves have done that for a long time, and it's been effective. And I think letting Travis d'Arnaud go was a mistake. And, maybe we've returned a little bit to having, I don't know if you can allocate the funds there, but I don't know. The Braves often don't want to spend any money. I think that's hurt them. And I don't know if they're going to just change their tune going forward and start spending money. So I'm not sure. But Drake Baldwin was a gem in a really, really rough season. And congrats to him on winning National League Rookie of the Year. And then my favorite player in the universe, Ronald Acuna Jr., he won the National League Comeback Player of the Year. So Acuna, 27-year-old right fielder for the Braves, phenomenal, outstanding 5-tool, wonderful player. He tore his left ACL in May 2024, and he returned to the Braves this past May 2025. He made his 5th All-Star team. He hit .290 with 21 bombs, 42 RBIs, and 9 stolen bases. And that wasn't even a full season of work, but he was pretty healthy for most of the season. And that is one of my favorite things to see on a baseball field. So shout out to you, Ronald. And Ronald also was posting some things on X or Twitter saying that he wants to be a Brave for lifetime. So that kind of has me thinking that maybe contract negotiations are going on. I believe next year is his last year. And then we kind of get into player option years, I believe, or team option years. So it's kind of winding down. His contract is definitely a discount. And I'm a little bit getting worried on if the Braves are going to pay him the big bag of money that he deserves. So I would say if they can get it done sooner than later. I think, he's up there in the category in the $400 million range, at least $300 million, $500 million range, maybe even higher as you look at some of these salaries. And I think that's going to be the market. And I'm a little bit worried if the Braves are going to pay it. So I kind of hope they would, maybe get something done while he's saying he's wanting to stay around. I don't know, because I think that money of the open market will really, really talk. And that is understandable. But congrats to Ronald on winning Comeback Player of the Year. And that's my Braves news. But overall MLB news since last week, some Guardians pitchers getting popped for pitch rigging. Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz are charged with fraud, conspiracy, and bribery stemming from an alleged scheme to rig individual pitches that led to gamblers winning hundreds of thousands of dollars in the 23-page indictment. So just so disappointing to see this stuff be popping up through all different types of sports. It's really, really kind of sad. And I would just say to these guys, bet your overs if you're going to bet something. This is such terrible. They're betting their unders, throwing games, risking their lives, risking their livelihoods. And it's just really, really ridiculous. I know people get into all sorts of situations and, can be desperate. And, that's just kind of the facts of life. And this has to be some of those kind of situations. But there has to be some in here where people are just kind of being dumb as well. So just all really, really, really poor stuff for sports in general, and something that one of those things you wish people would think twice about, but people are going to continue to do it. Not everybody, just by being in the major leagues, is just living a perfect life, or that's the case for everybody. You can look at any subsection of life, and if you think it looks great, not everyone in there is necessarily doing well, and that's just kind of how it goes. And that could be some of the reason why these people get caught up in these things for trying to help some friends make some money, or maybe even make some money for themselves. So very, 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 very sad. And I really don't want to see. I fear we're going to see more of this, obviously, with how pervasive gambling is. And I'm even someone who likes to gamble, but I kind of take gambling as it's just more of a fun thing to do. I don't think it's I don't know how to seriously make money or even win consistently. I think it's just kind of a crapshoot, maybe just something kind of fun to do. But I can see how it can be a problem, and it makes a lot of sense, because it's throwing your money away a lot of times, and that is something that a lot of people, we could all use some more of, is some more money out here. All right, so MLB news, that's the overall news there of some pitchers getting popped for pitch rigging, and hopefully I won't be having to talk about more of that on the show anytime soon. But that's everything I got for you for the sports talk in the miscellaneous talk section this week. So we talked about the Panthers, the Hornets, the Hawks, the Braves, and MLB news in general. I want to say go Panthers today. I hope you can get a win against the Falcons. That would be a nice division win, get you back above 500. And I hope the Hawks can get a win tonight as well against Phoenix. And that's it. That's all I got for you for the sports. So go sports, go Panthers. I hope Bryce Young, how about Bryce Young come out and have a day? That'd be nice. Maybe 200-300 yards, throw a couple touchdowns, get the passing game going. Maybe mix up Rico and Chuba a little bit better instead of having Chuba out there returning punts. I think that's ridiculous. I don't know why they acted like they were, winning the Super Bowl. Rico was playing phenomenal, but I think they counted their chickens before they hatched there. And I still think he's a great player, but I think all the teams are coming in dialed into taking out Rico, and we didn't adjust or change up our ways in any way. And they have to have, maybe the Panthers just can't get a passing game going. It seems to me like they've been able to throw to T-Mac fine all season, but other receivers, it's been non-existent. So maybe just force feed T-Mac, who knows? I think they need to throw the ball. They need to take some more shots. I think teams that, do the dunk and dive thing or just a heavy run game, you got to take a shot at some point. And I think the Panthers are doing a really poor job at that. And I think they're doing a really poor job at mishandling Rico and Chuba in the backfield. I think it's nice to have two good backs. I don't know how that could hurt us, and they're acting like they can only play one. And I think that's been really, really ridiculous and poor management on the team's part there. So, go Panthers today, go Hawks, and that's everything I got for you for the sports and the miscellaneous talk. All right, so that's going to wrap up the entire show today. I'd like to reiterate some promotional talk from the beginning. Please follow Dep Lewis Show everywhere. Full episodes of Dep Lewis Show available anywhere you can find a podcast. So find the best place to subscribe and listen weekly. Places like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube, Amazon Music, and more. YouTube is also a great place to watch and play some games live or check out the videos later. If you'd like to support the show even further than just listening, patreon.com/Dep Lewis Show is available if you'd like to subscribe monthly. That's the best way to always guarantee you get the podcast ad-free, and there's some pretty good discount options on there right now. Also, Venmo at Dep Lewis Show is available any day, anytime, for any amount if you'd like to support the show. So I just want to thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a wonderful week out there in the world, wherever and whenever you listen to this. I hope if things are going poorly, I hope that changes. If things are going good for you, I hope that continues. I hope, what do I hope? I hope you are playing some games. I hope you're getting ready for some holiday plans, possibly maybe some time off work, maybe some fun plans to see friends or family. Hope you are possibly, I guess some people around the holidays will get some new video games in their arsenals. That's a pretty cool thing. And, maybe enjoying a little bit of the fall weather out there. Who knows? I just hope you're doing great out there, and I really appreciate you listening to this podcast. I have so much fun doing it, and I will be back next week for another episode of Dep Lewis Show. So I will talk to you then. Goodbye. See you next time.